Okay. Hello again, this is DZ Maven here, and this is kind of my part 2 of reviewing a few new tools I have. Specifically, when I picked up my gun primer razor stuff, you can kind of, if you're interested in this, you can look at the part 1 video here. But for part 2 here, I kind of want to talk about these Gundam markers I had. These have been newer EX Gundam markers here. I picked up a couple of these along with the gun primer stuff here, because I kind of want to try these out here. Mainly this is the plated silver here, and I also have the new EX white here as well. And just for comparison, I have the old Gundam white marker here, just to kind of compare it with, as well as the regular silver Gundam marker here. I have the gold here too, which I might try out for something here too, but I picked these up because I do use Gundam markers every now and then. I don't use them a whole lot, but I do mainly use these for detailing and stuff like that. So I got the white here, which I'm going to use for some of these parts of this this HGUC core fighter here, which you probably saw in the first video. I went ahead and clipped these all out and cleaned them up with the razor here. I'll test out the chrome marker with a few of these parts that I have here, just kind of laying about here, but let's say, I'm going to start with the silver here. We'll do the white afterwards here, but so with Gundam markers, you really have to kind of shake these up a lot. I think so. Probably do both of these at the same time here. Enjoy the sound of shaking markers. So probably go ahead and let's see what I want to do on this thing here. Maybe this here. I'll maybe use the gold on this here. I'm not using these parts for anything specifically. I just kind of brought them out to kind of test it out with. Actually, no, we'll use this. This is a scrap part anyway here. So let me use the regular silver here first here. Then I'll use the plating marker. Just kind of compare it here. So these markers, they often come with the. You can see that they're the. This camera. This chisel tip. I'm not a big fan of the chisel tip. I kind of wish Gundam markers came more with this tip here, on this one here, the pointy nib. The pointed nib is a lot easier to use than the chisel tip. The chisel tip just puts out too much paint, I find. But let me get this thing started here on a piece of scrap plastic here. The blue. So coverage is always kind of a back and forth thing on this here. Should probably make sure that tap on when I do this here. Sometimes you really gotta shake these things up. I never really found the coverage of this thing to be all that good. Just I don't know why it's always so runny. Like I do shake it up a lot, but it's like it's like super runny here. I don't know how much more I should shake this thing up. I've watched a few other videos on markers and they suggest really shaking these things up a lot. And it's like, is it gonna be any better? No. So this, I feel like this marker's already kind of seen better days. I'm gonna do it on this side here. So let's just say this thing has a silver V-fin for whatever reason. Just to kind of give you an example of the coverage here. And it's already pretty terrible, I can tell you that right now. See if I can get a little closer here, but so I probably don't really have to tell you, I don't use this marker that often because of how terrible it is. If I want to paint something silver, I'm just going to use my silver enamel paint, which works a lot better. This thing's just, it's kind of bad. It's just kind of bad. This thing kind of, it stinks. It stinks. So what about the chrome? The silver plating if I don't throw it halfway across the room here. I've already tested this out on a few parts for the, on this guy here. But I can tell you already, this is already a lot better. Let me test this out on here, make sure it's flowing. It could also be because it's a new marker too. I mean, that also means a lot as well, but this thing already, I can tell you, looks a lot better than that. Let me do this here. This side. It is still a little runny, but that seems to be the case with pretty much every Gundam marker that I use. Not the easiest thing to use when you want to paint stuff, but again, this is the sort of thing which I'm probably more likely to use it for detail work. In which case I'll probably have to get like use a toothpick or something, or a paintbrush. But the coverage is pretty decent with this thing, so I can't really complain too much. This is just to kind of demonstrate if you're kind of interested in what this is. That's how it looks compared to the old silver. The old silver's just, it's garbage, I will admit. But the silver plating marker is pretty decent, I'd say. This does require extra drying time, so don't mess with this while it's drying, because it does need to stay untouched for quite a while. What do you think? I need to grab stuff before I start filming. It's like I think about it while I'm filming, and you're like, what about DZ? What about this thing? What about this? Is it comparable? I would say yes and no. So like I mentioned before, a lot of Gundam markers have this chisel tip, which I find really annoying to use, because it's hard to get into tight spaces. In case you can't tell on here, couldn't really get into that spot next to the right there, because the chisel tip, I can't get in there with that because it's really kind of annoying. Good. Now I might be able to get in there with this here. Now the only thing is that my Molotov marker, I've had this thing for a few years now and it's gotten old, so it's not really as effective as it used to be. The chrominess of the paint in here is kind of lost its luster, so it doesn't really have that shiny look anymore. I'm gonna test it out here because I usually do like tiny thruster vents with this thing, because of this really fine nib on here. It makes it really easy for me to do this here. We'll just do this here as a demonstration, just to kind of show you. This is how I pretty much use this most of the time. So it's not really a plated silver look anymore. It's kind of degraded into like a regular silver paint. So these Molotov markers apparently do go bad after a while. But I still use it because it's still a nice silver paint. It's still better than this piece of garbage here. So yes, that marker is garbage. Now, how easy would it be for me to use this thing here on a really tiny part here? Well, let's try this out here, see how this works. Like I said, these chisel tips, I really don't like the chisel tip. It makes it really hard to do this sort of thing. I'm gonna give it my best shot here. Get it in there best I can. It's not too bad, but anyway, you can kind of see the difference there. Now it's a little bit of an unfair comparison because, like I said, this thing's gotten old and bad, but When this thing was good, it was more like this. The plated silver look here. As opposed to now just being kind of a regular silver look. So that's why I mentioned these things are comparable. Now, depending on which one you want to get, it's kind of up to you. Like I said, this has the chisel tip, so it's kind of good for more of a broader area. This here, if you get a fresh one, this is good for smaller details because it has the fine tip on here. So this is really good for detail work, as long as it's still good. Otherwise, it becomes a regular silver marker. So, but that just kind of gives you an idea of the difference between these two things here. So I'd say, yeah, they are both pretty good investments if you want to have it. This is a little bit more expensive than a regular Gundam marker. If this was like actually it's probably closer to like $8, I think. Probably a little closer to $8, I'd say. So that's what you would get out of that here. Let me just do a larger area with this thing here, just to kind of compare it here, even though I'm not really supposed to use this for a larger area, but in case the comparison wasn't really clear. Kind of a difference there. So you can see this is just a regular silver now, so that's about what you can expect from that here. So, and before I move on to the white, I'm just going to use the gold here a little bit. Now the gold Gundam marker, this thing's pretty decent, I found. I really wish Molotov would make like a chrome gold, so I can have like a fine tip. Maybe, I don't know if Bandai will do like a plated gold. It would be nice to have like a plated gold marker. Maybe someday they'll do that. See if this is ready to go. And yeah, the coverage on this looks pretty okay. So do this without getting paint on my hands. So this here is a pretty decent gold. It's not, again, it's not gonna be super great with the coverage, but about what you're gonna get out of it. It's okay. It's easier for me to use if I'm doing detail work. Again, it's easier for me to just use enamel paint and a toothpick or a brush. That's how I paint most of my details on kits here. So this is okay, but in the past I've had let me grab one here because I still use a deco art here. I still use this deco art red. This is a really bright red, but there is also a gold deco art which is actually really nice, and it's a little bit more of a plated gold look. If you can find one of those, this is actually that's actually pretty good for detailing. It's a better gold than this here, so you can find these in some arts and crafts stores, but this is actually a pretty decent option too. Anyway, let's move on to the white here. Haven't used this yet, so I don't know how good it's going to be. So this is still in the packaging here. Get this open. Now this is cheaper than the plated silver here. I know they also have an EX metallic green, red, and blue, I want to say. So, I think this is a chisel tip also. Yes, it is. Okay. So, anyway, we're going to test it out on this thing here because this is supposed to have some white areas on both sides here of the core fighter. And so, be a good test of the coverage of this marker here. We'll shake it up real good here. Shake this one up too. You do like this here. Do both at the same time. They want to have a fair test between these. Alright. To be fair, this is old too. It's probably just as old as this here. Alright. Well, let me use this one first, because this one's probably ready to go. Let me see. The coverage is it's kind of shite right now. Get this going without going crazy here. Yeah, Yeah, because the marker's old, so the paint just kind of pours out. Just good. It's like one big mess here. Let me do... Yeah, we'll just do this side here with this here and see what it looks like. The thing about white paint is always a huge challenge to work with, because if you're doing on top of a part like this that's already kind of colored, white paint has a tendency to be kind of slightly transparent. So like no matter what you do, you're gonna see the paint strokes. Especially with a marker, it's just, you're gonna see everything. You're just gonna see everything on this here, I think. Yeah, I think this is supposed to be white here too. But yeah, that's just like one pass. You're probably gonna have to do like multiple passes with this in order to make it look decent. So that's what you get with this here. Now let me see if I can get this thing going. And when you have a new Gundam marker, you gotta really kind of get it started here. Oof, okay, that just came right out. That was a little unexpected. Clean that up. Yep, you saw that live. That's what happens when I do unscripted videos, because just stuff like that will just happen. Because that's the sort of thing that'll happen when you're actually working on a kit. Is just all of a sudden like, whoa. See what this coverage is like. Actually, coverage is pretty good. Let me just jump into this here. So we're going to do this other side here with this here and see how this looks in comparison. I don't expect it to be perfect because white, like I said, is a pretty difficult paint to work with. But I can tell you that this does have better coverage so far. Yeah, so... to be fair, I probably should do that too. That edge is probably supposed to be red. So anyway, that's your comparison shot right here. I can get a little closer to the camera. You can kind of see by comparison here. So yeah, there's a lot more pigment that comes out with this here. A lot more pigment. So if you want to paint something white, this might not be a bad option. There's like an edge in here I can't really reach. There we go. Got it. So let me just set that down for a moment here. Let me do the tail on this here. Again, this is all for like testing and experimentation here, just to kind of show you what this is like here. Like how finely can I use this here? Oh, that's not too bad. That's not too bad for a single pass. I want this to lay flat on the thing here. This is dark blue. This is going to be a little harder to do. But this part in here is supposed to be white, obviously. So how well does it do with that? It does a decent job, I would say. I would still say the best option if you're going to be doing something like this and you really want to, you're probably just going to have to like mask off and paint this or prime it or something, because painting white on top of a dark plastic is always kind of tricky thing to do. But I guess for a small area like that, it's really not too bad. That's about what you get out of that. So Of course, you have to kind of go back and clean up any little spots like that where you've got the marker. You can go with a toothpick or your knife and kind of clean up that edge and make it look a little straighter, like that. So. Oh, that's probably dry enough. Let me try a second pass with the old marker here, see if I can make this look any better. And maybe once that's dry enough, I'll try a second pass with the other marker too. Yeah, this is really not looking any better. Yeah, I do believe this white marker is pretty much done for. Well, not in the sense that the marker's bad, it's just... I would say it's been replaced by this now. This thing just isn't more fusing anymore. I only wish this had this tip on it. I don't know if I can switch the tips around. I think it's possible to do. Maybe. An idea to consider. Alright. Let me show this thing off too, because this thing is pretty nice to use. Just to use the deco marker here. Let's say, yeah, we'll do a little bit of red on top of here. I like this red. This is a very bright red. It looks good on most parts. I know I'm supposed to be talking about Gundam markers, but I mean, I might as well show this thing off too. It's a very nice, bright, opaque red. Here, and I use this for detailing too, so it looks pretty nice. So yeah, that's probably gonna be about it. So that's still looking pretty nice there with that chrome look. Focus camera. Let's see, has this dried? It doesn't look like it's dried. Again, because there's like so much more pigment coming out of this thing, it might not. I don't know if I can do a second coat yet without really messing it up. Just to see what a second coat would look like with this here. Alright. It's a second coat. So it might be worth it. This might be. It definitely puts out a lot more pigment than the old marker here, so it does have that advantage of being kind of better than this thing here. So are these EX markers worth it here? I would definitely say now, if you want to get a white, get this white. If you're gonna get Gundam markers, don't get the old one. This old one is no good anymore. It has been replaced by this now, so don't ever get the old one now. Just get this one here. This one's better. It just puts out so much more pigment, so it just looks a lot better as I'm showing there. Now, is this the best way to paint white? No. Will I get the job done in the pinch? Yeah, kind of. So, like I said, I don't really paint large areas with a Gundam marker all that often. Things like that. I normally use it for a detail piece or something that's not really that important. The silver plating is pretty nice. This might be worth having just to do nice little things like this here. So I have experimented on this guy with using clear paints on top of this chrome. That's what I did with the cameras and the eyes here, and it turned out okay, I would say. So get some shininess here on the back there as well. So this works pretty okay with a combination of clear paint as well. So that's something else you kind of want to if you want to do that, that's also something you can do with this, and I think that worked out pretty well. I did that in here too, with some clear red on the scope there, so. But yeah, pretty good, pretty well impressed with it. I just kind of wish again, the tips were different on these here, would just make it easier to use, but. And if you want to have a finer tip chrome, of course, try and find one of these Molotov markers. They are more expensive. They're like $10 or something and up, and this is what, probably like $8 for this. So time will tell how long this lasts comparison to this. I've had this for several years, and like I said, it's kind of gone bad. So I have to get another one of these at some point. But yeah, so that's kind of it for the Gundam markers here. I hope you found that informative and interesting, and like I said, if you're interested in the Razor stuff, you can check out the part 1 video, and I hope you guys have a great day and keep on building, and I will continue making a few more videos here. Anyway, take care, bye bye.